Hello everyone, hope you hear me well. I'm happy today to introduce the daily talk session of the day. My name is Sophie Mathieu. I'm leading the partnership for Propel by MIPIM Events. And our discussion today will be about how to build buildings, assets the right way. Meaning what is the mix of technologies that you should take into consideration to solve many of today's challenges, and how buildings needs to be more customer-centric and how they can be. So for that, I'm really pleased today to introduce you to Christian Schmitz. Hello, Christian, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Great. So, Christian, you're head of Coliving and PBSA at Salto system. You're based between Germany and the Netherlands. And today you're going to share your vision and your standpoint on that. So please have the mics. Just before you start, one more thing. You have the possibilities, guys, that you're listening, to ask your questions to Christian, and we will take care of the questions right after Christian's presentation. Christian, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah, first of all, thank you again. Welcome to the MIPIM sessions. I'm Christian, Global Co-Living and PBSA lead at Salto. I would like to briefly introduce you to Salto. So, since 2001, Salto Systems has been delivering state-of-the-art wire-free and keyless access control solutions, and has established actually a strong presence in many verticals, basically everything which covers a door. Today we cover 95 countries and a lock portfolio which can go on any door worldwide. Key for us and our global customers is that they can work and expand with us wherever they want, because we have the hardware standards, meaning the lock form factor from a mechanical point of view, which are already incorporated into our product portfolio, and thus they can expand with us wherever they want. Literally, you can think of everything. I mean, it could be a post box, it could be padlock, garage, sliding doors, inside, outside doors, various carriers even. So that means flexibility overall credentials like PIN, mobile key, remote opening, and physical carriers you can make use of. Really briefly, a few references which allows us to have a quite horizontal, diverse market view, and also gives you a bit of a background where we are acting. So you have universities, so meaning education, commercial, healthcare, hospitality, then working spaces, so some of the new niche verticals, retail covers at our business also. I mean, everything where you have more the satellite shop systems, can be even banking, where we are really strong in. Co-living, this is my part, together with the PBSA, so purpose-built student accommodations, and then the residential and multi-residential housing. Now, more in general, in the evolution, I would say, of the lock and management technology, we have adapted 8 years ago already, next to our existing and leading on-premise management portfolio, and service solution. We have developed by that time uniquely a cloud-based access control system, which is with a software as a service component. Why? Because new verticals like the co-living markets require new approaches, which are, let's say, more user-centric, but they are also more tech-oriented in the way of working with integrations. So in general, I would say getting locks online allows us to develop further thoughts and actions, but real-time event reporting and remote management allows us to go beyond the classical log management tasks by, for instance, who has access and when. So, and focus with that on solutions and more holistic approaches within an entire ecosystem. So that's why we today already are happy to provide an answer to an assistance actually to many management tasks resulting out of the COVID measures. So Sophie, I mean, already mentioned it, please ask questions. And I would, for instance, also be interested from which vertical you are coming to maybe also react during the presentation or at least afterwards with more clear approaches which fits to your vertical the best. So my presentation is not only about Salto logs. So this is also, even although I'm super happy to give you all the answers to maybe finishes and different log form factors, I would like more to zoom out and look at the building technology and how to prepare actually, even with the measures resulting out of COVID, the building right. So actually, if we look today at how will COVID change life and business post-lockdown, and what does it mean for us in the spatial design, but also in technology terms, the immediate impact on the outlook of all these restrictions is on everyone's lips without any doubts. But we have seen in that entire period now various verticals like the hospitality industry being hit hard by this crisis, and others like new verticals and new niche verticals, like for instance Coliving, showing a crisis resilient concept and even counter-cyclical a bit, because people are starting now to, in a way, to understand better what loneliness means and how to value human interaction. So in my opinion, COVID has shown us from even a technical point of view that we were not prepared. So what permanent influences us now is that lockdown can come again, maybe with the next COVID XYZ. And that is something you never would like to be caught again in a surprise. So to be harsh and maybe nail it down, except internet calling, what we do now, and some other tools we're using already, we have been really inventive. So many verticals have done a great job. But then if you look back, stickers on the ground, on the table. So tech in building is then, in the wider sense, very often not on a level to compensate flexible and ad hoc approaches. And one important measure would be the necessity to manage people flows. This hasn't changed to prior COVID, but becomes more relevant now. So this is not new, as I said, but together with the COVID impact, this is obviously a broader topic and covers various audiences, meaning not only guests or employees, depending on a vertical, the operator and the third parties who are involved and are responsible for various stages within an experience cycle. So this becomes the important topic to talk about. And if we focus then for a moment and an example on living concept, which is my DNA, we are looking at check-in, in-house life and offboarding processes. Each step requires a dedicated attention, which leads to the question then how to build the building right. So, and this is a kind of, if you keep this question in mind, what I think the red line is of my following presentation now, and really happy to answer your questions. So if we look at today's building, we talk all about big data. We use very often terms really quickly. No doubt some of you, of us, we are really active, others not, to the need and trends of this current necessity and demand. So we are talking about sustainable footprint, user-centered design, energy neutral, multi-purpose, reusable occupancy, brand experience, and last but not least, even different investment strategies to grow a business. Now, if you would map this with, also to give you a bit of the evolution, if you map this with a building strategy and growth in the 1990s, it was more the building volume was the most seen direction. So technology cycles of plus 10 years, in reality, you built a building for a few decades. What you bought was most likely and very often insufficient for more flexible use cases of today. And if you then again, together with even the CapEx most seen model, if you then map this, it's clear that there is a disalignment between the both, and also already many verticals have moved towards the today's position. But there is also another third component, very important, taking the different decision makers into consideration. So I guess, I don't know, most of you are from the real investor side, maybe technology or even operators brands. So if you then now look and who is from these parties and customers towards the installer, more towards the new versus the old, it's also, we see some of these directions here. Yeah? So end customers of today, I mean, then I'm talking about the new generation Z, that millennials have a total different mindset of and lifestyle. So they know what they need, and in order to attract actually their intention, we have to learn and be inventive. And the same goes for the operating brands, and real estate investors are really on a good way and looking already at sustainability and the previous discussed topics. So if you then go again one step back, you look at how these buildings then were built, and without going now into the details, it was all in all more rigid and wired. And if you then now compare this, and maybe this is worth noting now, wired solutions, all in all, we all know it's bad for investment and gives us not the most flexible way to be flexible for other purposes. And if you then compare this with the future and the today, I would say, current setup of many verticals, not of all, then you see that this is maybe good to rethink concepts. Huh? So why investing in a lot in a building doesn't mean that at the end it's also future proof, but normally we can think of the best concept and brand to put, but if in the latest the decision are based on a product and not on a solution, then the experience opportunities we left behind, and that is then somehow often also false direction. So luckily this is not the overall case. So decisions of today are more and more based on the needs of the end users and at least the operators. Knowing that there's also, if you have existing buildings, it's also difficult, because the downside is always, if you have already invested in more of the older technology, then it's sometimes super expensive and often takes years before you in general can then become more profitable, and which allows you again to invest. Yeah. Now we see a lot of technology involved, and if you then would like to go for a bit of an outlook, then we have a lot of technologies which are already there, so we do not have to invent the wheel again. Now, why is my presentation not? Give me a second. Don't know why. So then and hopefully what I'm trying to transmit now is that I'm able now to trigger mindset. So I'm also looking at ourselves to make a right choice and think more or less 3 steps ahead. So it's sometimes difficult to provide a clear future view, but in a time span of the buildings, we are definitely hit by those new technologies in a way. So if we now build something, now again the same. Very sorry. So this is what I wanted to show you. So, I mean, there are very often known facts of different technologies. So this is a bit of what we have to look at if we want to build the building right. So if I'm now trying to make the bridge of and giving some clear examples about what COVID has shown us in terms of block technology and how we as a key access point in multiple buildings can improve experience, but also can help operators. Then we in general topics, we look at health and design standards. So that, for instance, is looking at our technology now. We try to reduce the risk when using the access point and in general. That means, and surfaces of all kinds, definitely, but if you look at us with the lock hardware, then we, for instance, already provide biocode technology, which is an ion technology surface incorporated to our hardware. You can use definitely, or we have to work on cases with a flexible room usage, which means all the work from home measures has increased the necessity here to think about how flexible you can reuse rooms in another purpose. Just another cleaning, so smart locking can be the brain actually behind that system to manage and target cleaning efficiently and effective. And then more in a broader sense, we are not a camera technology provider, but we built integrations with camera technology with body temperature. So you can think of a wider topic, how to make use of different technologies to build the solution right. Yeah, and then there is how to manage operations. So that is what I mentioned previously. People flow is overall. So then we're looking at check-in, so moving to automatic check-in, reducing human contact at check-in, at least at the mass check-in days, because you should never lose the social interaction, but you can be more efficient and also reduce then these high counters. Mobile technology is then the answer, which we already provide. So reducing the handover for credentials, etc. So then the people flow, regardless of COVID, is something which we already manage within the building. Then you have, all in all, the online tenant experience. So using community apps for various services. So we see even the shared goods services upcoming. So there are third-party services which needs also access to a building in order to provide this additional service. So there are many services around access, which needs flexible credentials. What we see is that by now, and in the end, my opinion, will just accelerate the trend. So sometimes with a different flavor, definitely, but it stays in line what we have seen before. So that leaves then at the end, now, thank you, next slide. Actually the question, are you building the right building? And that would be my question to you, and now also showing here. So we are really proud to be suppliers of various leading brands, being an active partner of some leading communities next to MIPIM, which allows us to stay actually ahead and collaborate and being close to our end customer experience. So my personal opinion, maybe this is the last minute, is that the vision and mission, that is something we always think about. We as an industry have to consider this generational shift towards a user-centered design and experience. This is not only for COVID, but in general, and this drives operators to new solutions that are aligned with the fast-moving and ever-changing lifestyle of tenants, renters in general. So that was it. Thank you for your time, and let's unlock the future together. Thank you very much.
That's thank you, Christian. That's a good way to conclude to wrap up your presentation. In this crisis we've been passing through, and we are still passing through, may offer a lot of opportunities, or a booster, maybe a booster for the real estate ecosystem to be closer, to work closer, and better with the PropTech solutions and companies. I have one question in terms of one question with two levels. What are the actions that the real estate ecosystem has to take? And the second is on medium terms, because I suppose they have like two levels of answers, in immediate and medium terms. What would be, from your standpoint, the actions to implement to be sure that you have the best mix of technologies to serve the customers, the users of it?
Mm-hmm.
And a medium, long-term response.
Yeah. So, I mean, I hope I not repeat a lot, but actually, access control is always a centered application very often. And I mean, if you then look at larger operations, and then definitely depending on the vertical, but if you now look at living concepts, you somehow need to think about your daily flow. And if you then think about your daily flow, you'll automatically encounter different restrictions, or at least measures you have to take in order to follow the restrictions. And that is, I mean, not saying you don't need a smart locking if you have 2 apartments. I mean, then you will find another way. But if you're looking at a larger scale, you need to find a way to then either do what, I mean, many verticals have done in co-living and living concepts in general, that they have moved from physical check-in to remote check-in. So, and that comes with everything what PMS normally does, where we build thoughtful integrations, which then allows them at the end also to have instant, seamless access to their doors without bypassing the reception, for instance. So, saying this, that was already ongoing prior to COVID, but now COVID has just accelerated that process a lot. Yeah. About what technology should be used, I mean, that is always how you look at it. But if you look at the fast growing and ever changing demand, and maybe even different purposes. Now you have built a building for a co-working type of usage, and in 10 years from now the lease ends, and then a customer and operator uses it for a living concept. So you have to be flexible, so you cannot build the technology for one purpose anymore. And that's very often, that is what we see, is that everybody should do what they can do best. So we do access control, we provide it, we provide even thoughtful integrations, but we provide it to a level which is almost then the cloud level, which is solid and robust, so that we can build integrations today with party X, tomorrow with party Z, if the purpose changes. So this is something which in that way allows flexibility.
Okay. And in terms of smart access uses, what are the markets do you see being most advanced in terms of implementing the technology?
I mean, not telling you what is now the turnovers of Salto, but I mean, really strong markets.
Without getting into these details, do you think that don't know, Spain is more open to that, or I don't know, France, Germany, or
yeah, I mean, I would always see it from. I mean, you can again look at it from just where technology is more adopted, or where more new verticals are adopted, knowing that new niche verticals are more tech driven. I mean, this is then the rule that with new verticals and the great adoption of that vertical in the market, automatically the technology comes with it. So actually there are two ways, but I mean, Asia, India is doing really well. But also coming from their nature that they are already always being really tech oriented. But then also the US, UK market, Europe in general is, then there are some countries maybe a bit less, but others then better than others. Yeah.
Okay. Another question from Agnès. Could you share with us the evolution of buildings costs you noticed, meaning that 90s versus 2020, and the evolution of building costs post-COVID, if you.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the building cost, maybe that I have to ask, maybe repeat. The building costs in general, I cannot really give you now a clear answer to that, because we have then to look at what involves the building costs. I mean, that is depending again on the vertical, but what is changing is from more a CapEx to an OpEx model. And that is then more lease opportunities. So that already changes a lot. But honestly, I cannot give you now some digits how this has changed.
Okay, so maybe, and yes, we can.
But you can reach out to me and I can try
the question.
Yeah, I mean, Agnès, you have my contact details here. Please feel free to reach out, and I try to help you with some concrete answers.
And maybe to end this session, a last question would be concerning customer needs, and in order to build, to plan assets very customer centric. How do you validate? How do you validate the customer centric needs? How do you validate that? What kind of technologies? How do you help? Do you support the real estate ecosystem to understand and to maybe anticipate? Because we know that it's a long-term process. So to anticipate what will be needs to be sure your building will be customer.
This is actually a really good question, and that is also changing our way how I work. Essentially, is that normally if you look back to the 1990s, then even, I mean, to make that comparison, we as a then pure lock manufacturer were only looked in when the decision has to be taken for a lock. Now, because we are not talking about a product, we're talking not even about a solution, we're talking about the experience behind. That starts really early on. And then we are partnering with great consultancy and think tank partners. So that's our community. And I see also Matt from the managing director of Coliving is also present here. So with together, I mean, we are not alone. Huh? I mean, we have an opinion, we can help and assist, but in that process, we are even not talking straight about the technology. We are talking first about what is the vision and mission, what purposes you have in mind, what is the daily life cycle. And then third step is maybe, okay, if you then talk about access control, that would be the right solution. Or now you talk about security, okay, then you can think of cameras or this and this and this. So actually this is the way how we work and being customer centric.
Okay,
hopefully
so
that answers
your question. To see only the technology, but you work with different partners coming with different standpoints to enrich the vision and to have more consultancy approach with the real estate ecosystem. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
I think we are good. I don't know if you want to add any other words, Christian, to all what we've been saying.
No, I'm really happy to be part of these sessions, and I can only give a big applause to MIPIM. So doing a really great job, and whoever has questions, please reach out to me, LinkedIn or email, and we will come back to you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you very much for your presence, for the quality of your presentation. Thank you all for being with us. We have been developing this program for almost two months now, and we will end by the end of June. So we are really happy to have you all. And I would say see you tomorrow, same time, 4 p.m. Paris time for a new topic, a new speaker, and thanks again. Bye. Enjoy.